Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Prajanjana Ranjana Jasodanandana Prajanjana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Brajanjana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajanjana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajanjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gauda Premanandi Hari Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Status Quo, Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni, text numbered 30. That's the one. Suyam Bhakyam Vritam Kartum Suyam Bhakyam Vritam Kartum Abatir no sime grihe avatirnosi me grihe. Chikirsur Bhagavan Gyanam. Chikirsur Bhagavam Gyanam. Bhaktanam Manavardhanam. Bhaktanam Manavardhanam. Swiyambhakyamritam kartum. Avatirnosi me grihe. Chikirsur Bhagavam Gyanam. Bhaktanam Manavardhanaha. Chikirsur Bhagavan Gyanam. Shriyam Kartam Kartum. Shriyambhakyamritam kartum. Avartinosi me grihe. Chikirsur Bhagavam Gyanam. Bhaktanam Manavardhanaha. Swiyambhakyamritam kartum. Avatirnosi me grihe. Chikirsur Bhagavam Gyanam. Bhaktanam Manavardhanaha. Shriyam Bhaktam Kartum. Bhaktanam me grihe. Kartu Abatirno Simegrihe. Swiyam, your own. Vakyam, words. Ritam, true. Karatum, to make. Avatirnaha, descended. Asi, you are. Me grihe, in my house. Chikirshuhu, desirous of disseminating. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Jnanam, knowledge. Bhaktanam, of the devotees. Mana, the honor. Vardhanaha, who increases. Translation, please repeat. Kardama Muni said, you, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my house just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. Kardama Muni said, you, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the Lord appeared before Kardama Muni after his mature yoga practice, he promised that he would become Kardama's son. He descended as the son of Kardama Muni in order to fulfill that promise. Another purpose of his appearance is Chikitsur Bhagavam Jnanam, to distribute knowledge. Therefore, he is called Bhaktanam Mana Vardhanaha, he who increases the honor of his devotees. By distributing Sankhya, he would increase the honor of the devotees. Therefore, Sankhya philosophy is not dry mental speculation. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. How could the honor of the devotees be increased unless Sankhya were meant for devotional service? Devotees are not interested in speculative knowledge. Therefore, the Sankhya enunciated by Kapila Muni is meant to establish one firmly in devotional service. Real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Gnananjanasalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavari Paschatya Veshatarine Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Is the light supposed to be on? You know, turn it on. Generally helps to see better. Thank you. Suijam vakyam ritam kartum avatirno simegrihe chikirsur bhagavam jnanam bhaktanam manavardhanaha. Kardama Muni said, "You, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge." So, Krishna has appeared as the son of Kardama Muni, one of the progenitors of the universe. As he said, Kardama Muni said, just to fulfill your word. So, Kapila, Sri Kapila Dev, had promised, Krishna had promised to Kardama that he will do this, that he will fulfill his desire. It is explained by the Shastras, by the Acharyas, that Krishna fulfills our devotional intent. If we want to worship him in a particular way, in a particular rasa, technically speaking, or flavor or mellow, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would say, then Krishna likes that. And Krishna appears in that way to fulfill the desire, to facilitate the desire of the devotee to serve him. So this is a very important topic of the Vaishnava philosophy. This is crucial or essential in the process of Krishna consciousness. It is crucial to understand who is Krishna. And it's so important that Krishna himself takes some time to explain to Arjuna and to all of us. Srila Prabhupada explains that Arjuna is representing the living entities. So he takes some time in the Bhagavad Gita to explain about his nature. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is comparatively short. It's only 700 verses. And it's a very dramatic situation because the war is about to start and Arjuna is not wanting to fight. So there are many things that need to be covered. A book to be called an Upanishad, it's meant to have the essential teachings of the Vedas. And that's how a book is called an Upanishad. Just like Sri Upanishad has only few verses. How many verses? 18. Good. So 18 verses is smaller than any chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So in that Upanishad, and in the Gita Upanishad, the Vedas, Krishna, the devotees, explain about these essential principles. And what are those essential principles? The same principles that Srila Prabhupada will present in every one of his Janmastami lectures. Not only Janmastami lectures, but in practically every lecture, but more emphatically in those lectures where there was an appearance day. There are many appearance days that Prabhupada spoke on, and in the Janmastami lectures, he always will cover those points. So what are those points? First of all, our identity. Basically, Bhagavad Gita 101. Who are we? What's our nature? What's our identity? That's the first point that needs to be understood. Same thing, Sri Upanishad. What is the first thing that it is described? Anyone remembers? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's the invocation, right? Om Purnam. Yeah. And then Krishna's identity, Krishna's supremacy. Isavasyam. Right? That's the word. So as Prabhupada often would refer to the Isavasyam principle. So what Isha means, or Isho Upanishad, that's why. Ishavasyam. The way that the Acharyas explain this word, it's just like a chadar. Now it's winter, so it's time to get your chadars out, right? Whatever chadars you have, now is the time to show them off. And the explanation is that just like a gigantic or universal, shall we say, blanket or chadar or one of those, in the same way, Krishna covers everything. Isavasyam. So that's an important principle that it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, Gita Upanishad, and also in the Sri Ishupanishad. Isavasyam idam sarvam. Sarvam means everything. So there is no place in this universe or outside of it where Krishna is not present. That's the idea. Very esoteric, maybe a bit of a taxing exercise for some of our mundane brains, which everything is measured by height or depth or the different measurements like that, 2D, 3D or so. But in the spiritual realm, Krishna presents transcendental measurement, right? And that's provided by the Shastras. The Upanishads, as I was saying, particularly present that. And that's what Prabhupada did in his classes. So one of the things that we are meant to do in this set of lectures or classes, just leading up to the appearance of Sri Krishna on Saturday, is to discuss different aspects of his appearance. Why does he appear? How does he appear? Right? What is the purpose? What is the reason? What is the nature of his appearance? And you will hear a lot of pastimes and intricate details about that occurrence. Right? But as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the Bhagavatam shouldn't be only a source of geographical information. Not only geographical, but sometimes cosmological. Like sometimes some of these pastimes don't only happen on earth. Like Hiranyakashipu, where does Hiranyakashipu live? Where did he live? Where does Nishingadev appear? That's an issue that was presented to Prabhupada. Indraloka. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yes. So in the absolute sense, there are many answers, sometimes contradicting answers for the same, correct answers to the same question. So it's not, the point is, without getting into the details of that, it's not only for that sort of information, not only the leelas, the pastimes, the places. It's important, like Prabhupada explains about the appearance of the Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad Gita is Kurukshetra, and he emphasized the importance of Kurukshetra. Why? Why does he say that Kurukshetra is important? Anyone remembers? Yeah, the place of sacrifice, and it's a place that is related to Krishna. Why? Because the Bhagavad Gita was spoken there. And there are so many other things, the history. If you have the chance, please, strongly recommend it. Go to Kurukshetra. So beautiful. All glories to Mr. Modi that had made it so beautiful, so clean. There are auto rickshaws going around the, what is the lake? The Sarovar that it's there. What's that? Pushka Sarovar? Forgot. Gigantic lake, beautiful. There's an ISKCON temple with that resembles the chariot of Arjuna. Wonderful place. So you have the same tree, or a descendant of the same tree where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. So that's Kurukshetra. So why Prabhupada say that? Because the Mayavadis, they say that those things are material. That's Prabhupada's argument. Everything is material, Maya. Everything is Maya. So what is important about this place? You know, it's just some dirt, some land. No, Prabhupada will argue. It's very important because in that place, Krishna manifested, presented his Gita. That reminds me, once we went with, in 2008, I went with my youngest son, Gopal, not this Gopal, another Gopal that lives in Western Australia in Perth. And we went to visit Prabhupada's holy places in New York. So the 26th 2nd Avenue and the Hare Krishna tree. There's that tree you see in the picture. So I remember that we got a bit late because we were walking. We were trying to channel what was the experience when the devotees were there with Prabhupada. You know, Mukunda Maharaj often tells different stories and details about how they will walk with Prabhupada and they will do something here and there, and in the biographies and the Lilamrita and others, then you see several places, and you can imagine how Prabhupada was sometimes walking on his own or with a couple of devotees eventually, like that. So we were trying to sort of imbibe that mood. So it got a bit late, so we went to the Tompkins Square Park. And it was getting dark, so we were looking for the plaque. The tree has a plaque there, Hare Krishna tree or something that I forgot. And in honor to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, etc. So we were just looking like crazies. You know, people were looking at us, and we were going to the trees, and each tree we were like, "This is what these guys are on," you know. And so I said, "Okay, you go that side, I go this side." And so. Anyway, so I was tripping. I was imagining all the moments there and how Prabhupada started his movement in that place. All the first kirtans, public kirtans, basically happened there. Very, very important place. So then at the distance, I saw an orange figure. I rubbed my eyes. I was thinking, what am I seeing here? Right? So I just went closer, and there was what you can say easily identifiable character, a Mayavadi, Westerner, beard and the whole thing, orangey clothes, and he had somebody sitting there, like a younger fellow, like a disciple kind of scene, you know. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know what to do with it, but I thought, this guy might know, right? Maybe, you know, he's whatever, practitioner of some kind. He must know. So I told my son, go and ask him. Maybe he knows. So then my son, quite obediently, he just went and asked him, right? I mean, I saw at the distance, like from here to where that tree there at the back is. So, and he came back shaking his head, like kind of annoyed, you know. And then I thought, what happened? So it was funny. He said, Prabhupada was so right. I thought, what do you mean, what's so right? What did the guy say? He says, this tree, that tree, every tree is the same. You can honor all the trees, my son or my brother or something like that. My son was so upset. But just that instance immediately brought Prabhupada's memories in the flesh kind of thing, because that was the thing. This tree, that tree, any tree, you can hug any tree like that. So Prabhupada said, no, we are personalists. This particular tree. Eventually we found it. And it was very, very, very nice. And then we went also to the 26th 2nd Avenue. So the places are very important. Every single part of Krishna's pastime, Krishna's places is very important because they are personal, right? And somebody was referring to this pastime the other day in class. I was listening online. I think it was Manivandan Prabhu, the pastime where the bells, we hear the bells, right? When Lord Damodar was telling them, be quiet. He told the bells, be quiet, don't make noise. Right? But then when the food offering was going on, then they, yeah, okay, so yeah, when he ate it, it's because when prasadam it's offered, or bhoga it's offered, then the promise, the deal is that we have to sound. That's our duty. What's the duty of the bell? To sound when Krishna is accepting an offering. So even when he was chastising the bell, they said, this is our duty. How can you take this away from us? We have to make sound, right? That's the purpose. So the conch, the bell, everything, it's personal because it belongs to the Supreme Person. So like that, the Upanishads present this, the Gita presents this. But Prabhupada would emphasize in these classes, particularly the Janmashtami classes, spend some time reviewing his classes, and I think easily you just can find 4 of them, not all of them, but I think there are more. Maybe the classes were lost, and there are a couple of them that are there in the folio, in the Veda vase, but they are not attributed for Janmashtami, although it's the same day, so it's a bit confusing. But anyway, saying that the presentation of the Bhagavatam, it's not necessarily for geographical or historical. At the same time, Prabhupada says it's important, so we need to know. Sometimes Prabhupada would say in some of the Bhagavatam, and particularly in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the location of those places. Have you noticed? He says it's a number of miles, and you have to take this train and get down at that station and turn to the right and take the bus. Why did he say that? Why would he say that? Exactly, because he wanted us to go, right? How many of us are going, right? The other day, yesterday, we were discussing about going to India, and one of the devotees was saying that never had taken a train in India. And I was just thinking, if you don't take a train in India, you haven't been in India. India, you have to experience the train ride. So, but going into the history of the presentations of Srila Prabhupada's Janmashtami lectures, I did a bit of I thought at some point I didn't have time to put it in a PowerPoint form, but it's quite interesting. Srila Prabhupada arrived, as you know, which year in America? It's 1965. So, in 1965, the first Janmashtami of that period, he spent it, interestingly, on the Jaladuta. So he was in the middle of the ocean. Can you imagine spending your Janmashtami in the middle of the ocean? So that's how Prabhupada did it. Yeah? And he could Kitri, he cooked something, and then he shared it with everybody. That was his Janmashtami celebration. En route to America. ISKCON was about to be born, as he explained later on. So the first Janmastami in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. All right? So create a visual image of that. Then, when he landed, eventually in 1966, he already had a small band, as he called, of boys and girls. So they spent the first Janmastami on land in 1966 with the devotees in New York. And they were reading, they were fasting. I think Mukunda Maharaj was telling once I heard his class here, and how he was falling asleep, and I think they were taking some lollies so they will stay awake, right? She was telling like that in detail, and then he was looking at Prabhupada, and then he saw Prabhupada was looking at them. He was checking, like in kindergarten, whether you were sleeping or you were sneaking out or something like that. So it was very interesting, those early days, from the descriptions that we find in the Lilamrita. Who else? Mukunda Maharaj, Miracle in 26 2nd Avenue. Then we have Hayagriva Prabhu, Hare Krishna Explosion. Then we have others, Guru Das. We have Syama Sundar, Chasing the Rhinos, that book. Umapati Swami, My Days with Prabhupada. Who else? Govinda Dasi. Giriraj Maharaj, but that was later, and particularly and mostly was in India. But the very early days, some things from Mother Jamuna that she said, or the memories of her, like that. So the very early devotees telling all these stories about Prabhupada, the famous 3 couple that Prabhupada sent to London. Who was that? Mukunda Maharaj and his wife at that time. And who else? Syama Sundar and Malati. And then Jamuna and Gurudas. Yeah, those were the 3 famous couples. You know the story about when they took blessings from Prabhupada? You heard that story? Maybe it's good to say it now or never. When I believe they spent the Janmastami festival in 1967 with Prabhupada, and I believe that was in Montreal. So they came to see Prabhupada and asked for blessings from him. And they spent a few days with him talking, and he was teaching them how to do kirtan. He was giving them insights about the mood and the attitude and how to sing and how to invite everyone to participate in the kirtans, etc. So at the very end, I believe was Malati, Syamasundar Prabhu's wife at that time, the one who asked for blessings. He says, Prabhupada was saying, you are blessed because Lord Chaitanya wanted this, the Parampara wanted this, my Guru Maharaj wanted this, so you will be successful. That was Prabhupada's line. But Mother Malati, very, I don't know, it's just like some kind of a special intelligence. She said, Prabhupada, we won't be able to be successful unless you bless us. Right? So, okay, that's a standard practice. When you go to Guru, you ask for blessings. Right? Especially if you have to do some service. Like Lord Brahma, he had to create the whole universe. So these devotees had the duty of expand Krishna consciousness in Europe, starting in London. So then she said, you know this pastime? You remember this pastime? The kissing pastime? Okay, I'll say it. It's very. I don't hear it often, but it's there in Ilamrita. You find it online. So she says, may we kiss your feet. And everyone was shocked. All the devotees just froze. Everyone mute, just like now. Everyone just got quiet. And Prabhupada did his little slide, the Indian head movement, And if you live in India long enough, you will know what it means. No, yes, too much, too little. Not now, maybe later. You can have a whole conversation just with your head, So Prabhupada moved his head in a way that they understood that he had consented. So each one of them came. I mean, I never heard any pastime like this, not in ISKCON, not in other. We heard many pastimes, but that particular. So Prabhupada will, as you see sometimes in these photos, he will, when he was relaxed, he will sit with his feet extended like that. So he had the sole of his feet up like this. And each one of them came and kissed Prabhupada's feet. They were successful. It worked, whatever it takes. So that's a little something that I wanted to share. So Prabhupada spent different Janmashtami since 1966 till 1977. How many years is that? How many times would be that? 12. We dealt with that. Every time you count in terms of dates from one year to the next, you have to include that date. Correct? Numbers, Mate? Yeah? So we have to include that day. So it's 12 years. Like the saying, in the Vedas it is explained, just like in the Shikshastaka it is said that 12 years or more, right? 12 years or more. Why is it 12 years or more? Yuga. Because one definition of the Vedic measurement of time is yuga. And yuga could mean like, hundreds and thousands or millions of years. Or yuga can mean also 12 years, right? It is a cycle, shall we say. And Prabhupada refers to this also, and psychologists and scientists also. Because in 12 years, your psychology changes. And your cells change. And your features change. So every 12 years, there is a major change in your life. So in the same way, 12 years, it means a yuga. It's a cycle. So that's why the translation is like 12 years or more. So it means a lifetime. We have, according to the Gita, the hymn is Jovanam Kaumaram Jara. That youth, it's a lifetime. It's my young life, my older life, my mature life. So it's life. So it's a life. It's a lifetime. So in 1966 in New York, that's the day when he announced the initiation, the first initiation. That was the day when he came into the room and the devotees were there. And he said, by the way, it's going to be an initiation. Initiation means, I don't know if Prabhupada rehearsed these things or prepared these things, but the way that he did things is just like, Bhakti Charu Maharaj prepared that movie. I forgot how it's called. Acharya or something? Abhaycharan, yes. And he did a whole cinematic presentation of his life. But it's like somebody would have scripted this, So the group of devotees were there. He came out. It was Janmashtami Day. He said it's going to be initiation. Initiation is the day when the disciple or the student formally accept the spiritual master as and worship as God himself. And he walked out. Imagine the bomb, right? Everyone was shocked. What did he see? What did he say? And they start repeating to each other. He said, God himself? Worship like God himself? So that was the day, Janmashtami Day, 1977. 67. The next year, 1968, 16th of August, he celebrated in Montreal, where the three couples were there. In 1969, he spent the Janmashtami in Hamburg, Europe. 1970 was in Tokyo. He was actually traveling. So he spent it in Tokyo at his apartment with the devotees. Every Janmashtami, he will do the same. Every Janmashtami, he will speak, sometimes kind of longish lecture, but otherwise it will be 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But for sure, because sometimes he was sick, so he couldn't speak, or he will make the devotees speak. He will ask the devotees to share realizations. But every Janmashtami, he will read from Krishna book. Sometimes till midnight, sometimes till 1 o'clock, sometimes till 2 o'clock. And he says, I can keep the whole night reading. I can keep the whole night hearing about Krishna, but you cannot. So he says you can go and eat some fruits or some milk like that. So 1971, he was quite sick, and he was in London. At this time, he was having a lot of cough. He was having a tough time. 1972, this is a very important one. I mean, all of them are important, but this is particularly noticeable because he gave a series of talks. This is the 1st of September in New Vrindavan. This is a famous one where the description of the devotees, Prabhupada was chanting. In fact, Vishnujan Maharaj was leading the kirtan. And somehow Prabhupada became very, very excited by the kirtan. He liked how Vishnujan Maharaj sang. And then he asked for the microphone. So he started singing. These cartels, he was banging them, and he was really loud singing, and everyone was in ecstasy, dancing. There were, some say 300, some say, I read different accounts. You know, like sometimes in a festival it's like you feel like there are thousands of people, right? Have you had that experience? Like when you're in Mayapur? I mean, I've been in many festivals in Mayapur, and one time, I think it was 2015, at one point I thought, wow, this is like an ocean of people. You know, everywhere, every direction is just like almost to the horizon. It's like so many people. And they have counted, and that day, I think that there was a record. It was 12 or 15,000 people. 15,000. And then they said that by now, the TOBP is already too small. So before the TOBP opens, the place is too small because of the number of devotees. So some say 300, some say 500. And Prabhupada gave, as I said, the Bhagavad Dharma series. But on that night of Janmashtami, he started singing, and all of a sudden he got stunned. Right? Like we are studying now in the Nectar of Devotions, the symptoms of bhava and the descriptions of prema. And Prabhupada fell into trance. One of those days. Very few times Prabhupada showed that. Often he will, all of them, he will try to control himself, just become silent, close his eyes, and control himself, and then Hare Krishna, and then he will walk away. It happened in Mayapur, it happened in Venezuela, it happened in Atlanta, it happened in Gorakhpur, and it happened in New Vrindavan, when he just got stunned. And then different devotees narrate how they were close to Prabhupada and his cheeks were like pouring like with tears, you know? And they could see that he was shivering. But then he held himself and everyone just quiet like that. Every time that happened, the devotees will get quiet and they will chant Hare Krishna, just like japa, Hare Krishna, and like that. And then he will go. Sometimes the servants and secretaries after that, those incidents, will ask Prabhupada, what happened? What were you thinking? And Prabhupada wouldn't say anything. He says, no, it's all good. It's all right. Don't go there. So that happened in New Vrindavan. The next year, in 73, again he was in London. And then in 74, he was in Vrindavan. At that time, he was trying to open the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and he wanted the temple to be ready by Janmashtami, but they weren't able to do it, so they pushed it till 75 from Navami, the next year in April, I believe it was. So Prabhupada, at that time, he was really investing in every sense, money, energy, for India, the temples in Mayapur, in Bombay, and Vrindavan. So he was spending that time around there. So he was traveling. He was continuously traveling around the world, but he will go to Vrindavan again. In 75, he's in Vrindavan. And in 76, also another interesting opening. He opened the temple in Hyderabad. And although it's not recorded as a Janmashtami lecture, but the lecture of that same day, that was 76, 18 of August, it's there in the folio. And I remember I went to that temple, I forgot which year now, 87, 88. And the devotee said that when Prabhupada was there, he wasn't too well. And if you go to that temple, you will see that this is the temple room. It's a nice temple. The deities are there, Jagannath, Radha Krishna, and Gaura-Nitai. And if the deities are here, there is it's like 2-story, and there's a little balcony there. It's a tiny balcony. You know, like India, some houses, they have like some shapes like that. It's like a little palace, and they have little things like that. So there's a little balcony there. And that's the room of Prabhupada, right? And he has asked to do little things, little details like that. Devotees sometimes they don't understand, but Prabhupada asked, so they will do little things like that. So when he came, he was quite sick, and he said that I want every day to hear Bhagavatam class. So they wanted him to come, but he couldn't. So he will go there, and he will sit in that little balcony that you still can see today, and he will listen to the class. Imagine you're giving class, and Prabhupada is up there listening. So that happened in 76, was the opening. And he said that time, these are the most beautiful Radharani of the whole movement. But then I heard that he said that in other temples as well. But he said, because I remember the temple president was Prabhupada disciple, forgot his name, forgot his name. No, I forgot his name. He's famous. He's there in Lambrita. He was there at that time when we went. So, in the last Janmashtami that Prabhupada spent in this planet physically was in London. Prabhupada was very, very sick. Some of you surely know this past him. Prabhupada was very sick. He hadn't eaten practically for 10 months by then or so. And he always had this thing that he had a line. He says, I want to die in the battlefield. He always, surely you would have heard when he says that the kings, he describes the kings of the Vedic times. He will say the king will be the first one in line, the first one in battle, right? Not like now these cowards that they hide behind an office and they send orders and they send these youngsters to be slaughtered. The kings will be first in line. So Prabhupada had this saying that he wanted to die in the battlefield. So the devotees surrounding him, led by Tamal Krishna Maharaj and others, the leaders of the movement will come. And Prabhupada asked the GBCs, each one of them, to come and spend 1 month with him, because he wanted to train them, he wanted to teach them. So a number of devotees were there. But one thing, because Prabhupada didn't believe so much in allopathic medicine. He will take Ayurvedic, he will fast, he will do different things, massage, sunlight, kirtan. He wasn't into all these allopathic things. So one thing that the devotees noticed, and Prabhupada mentioned, that enlivened him and made his health better was, guess what? Have a guess. Well, he couldn't walk by then. Japa, okay. Chanamrita, yeah, he ordered. Kirtan, what else? Krishna book, yes. All you're right. Everyone's right. Yes. The reports of preaching, book distribution, making devotees, opening temples, meeting dignitaries around the world, press cover, positive, or even if negative, but if we won. Prabhupada was a commander. So hearing all these things, he got inspired. And then he said, take me to the west. He told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, take me to the west. I want to go to Gita Nagari, and if I'm going to die, let me die there. Right? Because the Gita shows us how to live, but how to die. This book was spoken in the battlefield. And battlefield means someone's going to die, for sure. Right? So the best death is in Krishna consciousness. So he said, I'm going to teach you how to die. I taught you how to live. Now I'm going to teach you how to die. Take me to Itanagari. So they left. Prabhupada, in that condition, he couldn't even walk. They took him on a, not an ambulance, but they had a ambassador, Tata, one of those, and they put a mattress at the back. Imagine how uncomfortable that would be. And there he went. And then they took him and, I don't know, wheelchairs, although it's not described, but anyway. So he went to London and he spent the Janmashtami there. He didn't speak. The next day was Vyasa Puja. He didn't speak. He will just come and the devotees will. Basically, the description says that whenever Prabhupada came out, because he was very emaciated, he had lost a lot of weight, and he had his dark sunglasses, and everyone was just crying. The description says that just the whole room, everyone just crying. No one could speak anything. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, maybe because he was very stern, very stoic, he would say a few things and encourage people to talk, maybe some of the leaders. But that was the mood. Everyone was just feeling that, what's called in counseling, anticipatory grief and loss. That's what they were experiencing. So in that way, these are where Prabhupada spent his Janmashtami lectures. And the main points, as I said earlier, that he spoke was on the topic of us and the 4 verses from the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4. Particularly from text 6. Before this, Arjuna has asked them, how come you said that you spoke to Vivashwan, but he's senior than you, right? You find that question. Why is he asking that question? Why do you think he's asking such a daring question? Krishna is talking. Why would you challenge? Why would you, why would you pose that question to him? Yes. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He's older than you. I mean, he's like millions of years old. But we are, kind of the same age, more or less, cousin brothers. The underlying question, Prabhupada explains, is when we ask Krishna, when we wonder, are we equal? Krishna has 2 arms. How many arms you have? Right? Same. 2 legs, nose, eyes, same. Right? Krishna does certain things, you do certain things. So the question behind this question is, are we equal? That is the question. And Krishna explains, as understanding, Vishwanath Chakravarti produced something is called Gitamrita. And he make these hypothetical questions in the narration. Questions that are in Krishna's mind. How does he know? Questions that are in Arjuna's mind, that are not written, but are underlying questions. And the question is that, are we the same or are we different? And then Krishna begins saying one of the most famous verses quoted by Prabhupada in Janmashtami lectures and appearance lectures. Ajopisam abhyayatma. And Krishna says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. That's the nature of his appearance. And there are 4 or 5 reasons why he appears. Just to conclude here. One is whenever there is a decline in religious practices, yada yada hi dharmasya, glanir bhavati bharata. When there is a decline of religious practices, I appear. The other one is when there is an increment in irreligious practices, adharma, right? The other one is to protect the devotees. And then the other one is to destroy the demons, right? And the other one is, that's why I say 5, is to establish religious principles, dharma samstapanartaya. And this is exactly what Kardama Muni says, oh my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees. Why does he say that? have descended in my home. Me grihe. Grihe means home. Like you say grihasta. Me grihe. In my home. You came to my house. Just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. Now all this and all the other 5 reasons that I gave are fulfilled with one single act that Krishna does. And that is to glorify the devotees. He come to this material world to establish bhakti. That's dharma, real knowledge. That's real knowledge, he says here. That's bhakti. And who are the ones who have bhakti? The bhaktas, the devotees. So when Krishna comes and establishes the supremacy of bhakti, he's glorifying the devotees. And that's why he says, you're always increasing the honor of your devotees. The more bhakti it's known around the world, the more famous the devotees, the more honored the devotees are. Matthew was saying yesterday that when we go into the trains in India and the ticket collector comes around, if you give them books or prasadam, they don't bother you. Oh, Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Very nice, very nice. So whenever you get in trouble in India, in any circumstance, always remember, have some books and have some prasadam. They will love you. Anywhere, airports, trains, anywhere. That's the land of Dharma, right? So Krishna comes to glorify the devotees. The devotee goal in life is to glorify Krishna. But Krishna's goal in life is to glorify the devotees. He comes to this material world. Prabhupada says in one of his lectures that he comes not to kill Hiranyakashipu. He could have sent some disease, some liver disease, some cancer disease, he says in the lecture. Why would I would have to come to kill him? He could send any war or something like that. But he came because he wanted to embrace Prahlad Maharaj. He wanted Prahlad Maharaj, a little boy, 5 years old, to be glorified as one of the greatest devotees in history. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favorite pastime was Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. You may say, oh, the gopis. One of the reasons why he didn't want to hear about the gopis is whenever he heard about the gopis, he will collapse. He will faint. So it wasn't a practical, a functional thing. So he will hear about Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Gayendra, Moksha, etc. So these are some of the reasons. These are some summary points on Prabhupada's Janmashtami lectures. So I hope they are useful for everyone to advance in our Krishna consciousness and our attachment to Krishna, and get ready for Saturday because Krishna is coming to your home. Me grihe. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. I know there's prasadam, but if anyone has time, I generally don't eat in the mornings. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Or Pramanandi. Go.